Are you an ambitious leader ready to break through limiting beliefs, align with your purpose, and thrive in your career without sacrificing your well-being or postponing your true desires? I'm Diana Ordonez, certified high-performance coach and your host. Each week, we'll dive into actionable insights and research-based strategies to help you unlock clarity, build unshakable confidence, and take courageous action toward a life of impact and fulfillment. If you're ready to overcome fear, embrace growth, and step boldly into your next level, you're in the right place. Let's create a life filled with courage and purpose together. Hi, everyone. I am going to get Carolina on here for our Friday morning lives. So today we're talking about habits and energy. And it's, it's kind of what people think of when they think of coaching, right? Like they think it's really like, how do I change my habits? And so I want to dive deeper because I don't know if a lot of it is so connected to our mindset around feeling empowered versus feeling like a victim, right?
Oh my goodness, that's exactly what I've been on the past couple of weeks. I'm reading a book about that, so that's good.
So am I.
Here we go again.
We're like on the same wavelength lately. But yeah, I'm reading actually a book on moving through the fear, right? Like and this week's chapter that I'm on is around, moving from feeling like a victim into stepping into your power, right? Yeah. And so many of the times, like I feel like that's what keeps us from actually changing our habits, right? We think it's our age, we think it's our time, we think it's, if only my spouse would do this, and this, then I would, have better habits. I would eat better. I would exercise more. I would, if only I made more money, if only I, didn't have to work all these hours at work. And these are all the reasons I can't have the habits that I want to have, right?
Yes. Hey, so you just posted something. I just saw it when I got on a little while ago. On your Instagram page, you just posted something about your daughter, or, our children. Okay, so to me, I think that's what's helped me pivot in the last couple of weeks. And I don't know if I talked about it. So do you know off the top of your head what the post said?
Are you talking about the one that says that in order for you to be able to inspire your children to believe in everything that that they can achieve, you have to actually be pursuing everything that you can achieve?
Yes. So when you're talking about the power to actually the fear and move forward, so that's actually what's been happening in my life the past couple of weeks. So I've been doing this, I talked about this, we've been doing this, I've been doing it for like over a decade maybe, life coaching. And so my son called me out because I made this commitment, and he called me out and he's like, Mom, isn't this what you do? Like, isn't this what you teach people to do? And the funny thing is, I think sometimes we just get in bad habits, and we don't reframe into the new habits that we're trying to instill in our lives. And that's what I thought. It's like, okay, we forget sometimes who's watching us. So when you talk about being the victim or being the hero, we have to go back to what we talked about in the very first live that we did about, who do you want to become? What does that destination look like? And I want to be the hero in my son's life. You want to be the hero in your daughter's life. You want to show them that all things are possible. But then we forget all the other people that are watching us, whether it's on social media or in life or at work or in the office or at church, and you are inspiring them because you are overcoming the fear. And the ironic thing is when it came down to it, he's like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you accomplishing it? And I'll show you what changed for me. But I recognize it was the elementary thing that we talk about. It's setting a SMART goal. And what I did is I set goals to implement these habits into my life that, they're just basic habits, drink water, exercise, blah, 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 that we all want to do. But and he goes, well, you're great at these. What's the difference? And the difference was I didn't schedule them. I just didn't put, I'm going to go to the gym on Tuesdays, Thursdays. That was it. That's the only piece that was missing. And so I'm so excited that we're talking about habits because I am winning this week. My habits.
What I love about your story.
Yeah, that's what you said, in that post. I'm like, yes, I want to show my son. You want to show your daughter. We want to show our friends. We want to show the people that we coach that it is possible. So yeah, let me know, how you're doing that.
What I loved about what you said is that he coached you through it. Like you raised a whole other little coach in your own home, right? They hear what we say, what we ask. And I think one of the biggest reasons why we get stuck in our patterns of the habits that we don't want to have is we aren't asking ourselves empowering questions like the one your son asked you, right? Like that's what we do in coaching. That's why coaches are so valuable and important, because it's so easy to get stuck in our pattern and not ask, the outsider question, what's the difference between the habits that you are following through on versus the ones that you're not? And then that allows you to self-reflect, as opposed to like what really keeps us stuck is like that self-diminishing, oh, why can't I get this done? Why is this so hard for me? All victim mentality type of questions that we ask ourselves rather than empowering questions. And I wanted to ask you, because you say, all these habits that we all want to have. And I wanted to ask, because what I know about habits is that the habits that truly stick and like are transformational are the ones that we tie so closely with our identity. And just like you said, who do I want to become?
Yes.
It's like, what are the habits that you decide that you want to actually, take on? And then I'll give you like kind of my take on it. But I was curious because you sometimes as life coaches, we take for granted that, we know so much, about like what habits are good for us and why. But in general, what do you think is the way that we should be choosing the habits that we start to change in our lives?
Okay, so that's a great question. One of the tools I use, and I don't know if we've talked about this before, is the wheel of life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I tell when I coach people, like I have groups that I do, and we use this all the time. We've even started using it in our mentoring of young children to help identify where they are. Just evaluating, and I always use health because I think that's like across the board. In fact, as you were talking, I thought it's such an obvious one. When you see somebody that's starting to implement a habit, that they're going to drink more water, because all of a sudden you see them lugging around the hydro jug, I made this commitment that I'm going to drink more water. So you automatically see that. And I feel like when it comes to health goals, I think they're common, that everybody wants a certain degree of health. And I tell them that they're not all the same. Like my health goals may not be the same as your health goals. But I think subliminally we all have them. Everybody wants to live a long and productive life for some reason. I say I want to be healthy so I can do things with my grandkids. And, different people have different reasons. So the motivation and the exact details of the goal may be different. So I'm not going to tell you like, you should set a health goal that I want to weigh this certain amount, have this certain a degree of lean muscle mass or whatever. I'm not going to tell you that, but what is it? It may just be I want to walk in the evenings, or it may just, I want to drink more water. So whatever that health goal is, I use that 8 dimensions of wellness, like the car example. And did I use that one of the first week about having a flat tire? Did I tell that example?
I don't think so.
It was so surreal. I teach this. I use the wheel, and the example is if you have a flat tire, are you going to keep driving? And it's like, no, you're going to pull over and take action. Yeah, but we do that in life. And so a few weeks ago, that actually happened. My husband kept telling me that my tires were out of alignment, and I was like, okay, but he didn't tell me if you don't take action, this is what's going to happen. So I did have a flat tire. I did go to the tire store, and not the flat tire, but the other ones. They're like, your two front tires are ruined. And I was like, what? And they said, yeah, your car's been out of alignment and you've been driving like this. Well, I knew it was out of alignment, but nobody told me that it would ruin something and cost me money. And I feel like that's the same thing with the wheel of life. You know, if we go forever with certain things, arenas in our life out of balance, eventually it's going to come to head and cause, some kind of, there's going to be a cost in the end. Do you have something?
Yeah. So the wheel of life sounds kind of like the different areas, of your life, whether it be fitness, health and fitness, finances, relationships, etc. But the other thing related to habits and energy is that people don't recognize that there are, 5 different types of energy, right? Like it's not just your physical energy. There's your emotional energy. There's your mental energy. There's your spiritual energy. There's and when you are, it's kind of like you said, when one is lacking, the other ones start to suffer, right? Like, so how many of us, if we're tired, all of a sudden we don't have like the emotional energy to like deal with patience with our kids, right? Like, or our spouses, or even at work, right? And so it is that, not only that, okay, if your health is out of alignment, all of a sudden, maybe your mental health starts to suffer, right?
Yeah.
And it's all connected. Also, like if you don't pay attention to your spiritual energy, all of a sudden maybe your emotional well-being is suffering, right? All of a sudden maybe your thoughts aren't as healthy, right? And
So good.
that's yeah. And so like what I love about coaching is like most of the time if you go to a friend, they'll be like, oh, you should do this, right? I heard this is great for you. Or a parent, right? Parents are great at this. This is so great. This is such a great habit you should take on. And the thing that you're saying is like, you ask them, what do you think you want to do? What do you think is important to you? And one of the things about the 80-20 rule that I like to apply to this is like, it's, 80% of how much better you're going to feel is based on a like 20% change in your life. What is
Wow.
the one thing that's going to make such an impact on the rest of your life, right? And work on that first, right? It's like the eat that frog principle, right?
Yes.
And so it's also from the one thing. What is the one thing that would make everything else easier or no longer necessary, right? If you were, healthier, would you have more energy to work on that project, right? And people think like it's the thing that I want to do and not addressing all the habits that are keeping them back from doing the thing that they want to do,
yeah.
right? For example, I want a better relationship with my daughter. What do I have to do to get a better relationship with my daughter? Do I have to have these kinds of talks? Do I have to be this kind of playful? Like, this is how I used to think, right? I was like in corporate, I was working long hours, and I was just like, how do I have a better relationship with my daughter? And not recognizing that by not going to the gym, by not getting enough sleep, by not setting boundaries at work, was all impacting the relationship I was having with my daughter. Yeah. Right? And so we have to identify what's the thing that's going to affect everything else in our lives. And we just got a question.
Yeah.
I'm going to read that.
Yeah. So Christy is asking, how do you stay motivated to follow through? And I think that's great because I love how you tied in the energy, because that's a beneath the surface thing that's not easy to identify in the beginning, So how would you coach somebody through like identifying the energy related to the goal to help them stay motivated?
Yeah. So the other aspect of energy that I love to talk about that is like the hidden thing, like, oh, people talk about how they're so tired at the end of the day and they think it's like, I just need more. Yes. So it's like, look back at your habits and identify what are the things that are impacting not just your physical energy, but how you feel. Like what energy are you bringing into a room, and to be intentional about not only what energy do you bring into the room for other people, but what kind of energy are you feeding yourself?
Yeah.
And what does that mean? What kinds of stuff are you listening to, right? Like, what are you feeding yourself? Are you listening to, Fox News all day? Are you,
No, not the news. It's not the news.
are you scrolling on social media? Are you like, what are you? So I have a client that says, if it's not inspirational, I am not listening to it. Like, that's her rule, because it's not just the energy from how much sleep we're getting. Yes, those things are great, but it's also like, if you want to stay motivated, what motivates you is the question. What motivates you? Uh, is it that, you think the process of working out or the process of eating healthy is, we're all fearing change for three different reasons. We're either fearing the process because the pain of the process is what we don't want. We're either avoiding pain or seeking pleasure. We're fearing the outcome. I'm going to do all this work and then I'm not going to get the thing that I want. Or we're also afraid of what we're going to lose.
Yes.
Right? So I'm going to lose all the treats that I love. I'm going to lose this time that I usually do this other thing. I'm going to lose security, whatever it is that you're afraid you're going to. So if you ask yourself, which of these am I afraid of? Then you can identify what's the energy that I want going into this thing, so you can evaluate the thoughts behind it, right? So is it the process of doing this is so like stressful, boring, whatever? Then it's like the empowering question to ask is, how do I make this more fun? How do I make this easier? How do I make this something that I look forward to? And when you start asking those questions, it's like, how are you staying consistent with these other things that you do, like you said earlier, right? And so if you ask yourself the empowering questions, you actually know the answer. You actually know how to stay motivated because you've stayed motivated with other things in your life already, right?
Yeah, and I think attaching it, going back to your why, like we talked about a while ago, just even our kids, recognizing that our kids are watching us. And are they watching us sitting on the couch eating chips? It's like on those, well, I'm so tired I can't get up. Or like my son calling me out, and saying like, you're so disciplined in this. What's the problem? It's like, I want my mission statement is actually to be that example to young women, to help them find their God-given purpose and help them overcome limiting beliefs to know that they can accomplish it. And so if I'm not doing that in my life, that's my why. Yeah. I want to lead the charge. I want to raise the banner. I want, other young women to say like, oh, if she did it, I can do it. That keeps me off the couch. And I've really had to pivot in my schedule the past couple of weeks because of all of those I can't get up in the morning and be ready to be where I need to be, go to the gym, read the Bible, do all the things. And I have non-negotiables, I'm not going to go to the gym over reading the Bible. It's like, just not going to do that. And so I've been doing it like when I come home from work, and then my son said another thing. He's like, post it, make yourself accountable. Yeah, he should be a life coach. I'm going to talk to him.
Yeah.
Here he is all coaching me, and that's the thing. Like, it is so exciting for me to see him like saying like, Mom, I believe in you. I've seen you do this. Like, this is what you look like. You inspired me when you were in your 40s. And so it's like, okay, again, what is my why? And my why is not all about me. My why is also like, what am I here? What is my purpose here on earth? It's not just to live like, I don't just want to have like this great body, successful career, happy marriage just for me. That none of us are here just for us. Right. And so I think that to be motivated, we have to go back and look at our why. Like, why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to pursue this goal? Why do you want to be financially stable? What is the why behind that? It's not all just to have like this, I was reading something the other day, and we're having this discussion about the debauchery in the Roman times. It was so like selfish and sick, and that's not why we set goals. It's not all about us. It was never all about us. It's to benefit the community, to benefit those coming after us, to benefit
To leave a legacy.
I don't want to say just legacy. Yes. And I think that it's hard when I think it's just me.
Yeah.
You know,
Sometimes purpose feels really hard for people to like connect with or understand, or like, what's my purpose? And I think one of the tools or like processes that I've seen help people, and Dean Graziosi, I think, was the first one I heard do this. And it's about, if you want to know what your why is, it's not just asking why one time, right? You got to ask yourself, like, why is that important to you? And then when you get that answer, ask why again. Why is that important to you?
oh,
And if you ask that 7 times deep,
hold on, I'll write that down.
you will probably get pretty close, if not spot on, to what your purpose is. And the thing is, that's when you, more than likely, I would, based on how many times I've done this, I would venture to believe that it's tied to some pain that you had in your life.
Wow.
And the reason that's important, because it goes back to what you said, it's never about you. It's usually this internal calling to not see someone else go through the pain you went through.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I think even like being a mentor, being that positive role model is because I felt I wanted to become the person that I didn't have when I was that age. Yeah. So that's so true. And I'm going to practice that. I'm going to see what that looks like, to dig deeper into those questions. That's so good. That's so good.
Yeah, I love getting to that, because we could get so stuck in our, like, why don't I have this mindset, that when we uncover what the purpose is, and it's not just about uncovering it, it's like reconnecting with it emotionally time and time again is the other aspect of it. Because otherwise, then it's like we're in our ego. It's all about us and what we don't have and what we haven't accomplished, and all those things. And then I've had people that are clients that have gotten to a place where they've been unemployed for a long time and feeling really not good. And then, like, recognizing and connecting with their purpose allows them to go after the things that they want from this purpose-centered place, which shifts their energy and their mood completely. And all of a sudden, they're attracting opportunities because they're going after it, not from this like needy, like victim mentality, but from this empowered, I understand now what I'm about, and I understand why it's important to me. And now my actions reflect a different energy. That's why I like to talk about energy when we talk about these things. You will feel a different energy in your body when you talk about the things that you want to do in a different way, right? If you say to yourself, I have to go to the gym, I need, I should do this and I should do that, or I can't, it's like your energy is going to be coming from this low place. Just like when you put your body in a different place, it shifts your energy. Like, if you've seen, I think it's Amy Cuddy that does the TED Talk on the power pose in the bathroom before your interview to like pick up space and feel confident. It's so true that not only do our thoughts impact the energy that we have, but that our body impacts, our mental state too. Wow. And so that we produce a different energy when we feel physiologically put our bodies in different, whether it be a different stance or a different movement. If you jump up and down and tell yourself, I'm ready, which is something I do with my clients, which is silly and, whatever, but it works. It just works. So it's being intentional about, how do I want to feel about this?
Yes.
And then asking yourself, okay, what would allow me to feel that? And the thing about habits is, like, people think about habits as what we do, and the real habit, change that will impact everything else is what we think.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I love the energy part about getting excited about that, because there are certain things that I'm not excited about. There's more of a I have to
Mm-hmm.
mentality, again, because the have to is tied to my end goal, but I'm not excited about it. And so that I have to do something to motivate me to get excited about it. I have to do something creative. I love habit trackers. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, okay, how can I do this? And I was like, one of the things I did is I made a really cute habit tracker. I was like, okay, and I made it. I have it on my iPad, but I can't show you because I'm doing this on my iPad. But that way, I can take my little, Apple Pen or whatever, and I can check it off. That's also like giving you those endorphins to be able to check it off. But I recognize, like, once I did this, and once I had that conversation with my son, I went in, and when he said share it, and I'm walking in the gym yesterday, and I'm taking a picture of the sign. I'm boss, and I told the guy, it's like, oh, I have to send that to my son, and I'm so happy. Where just 20 minutes before, it was the end of the day, I was so tired, I didn't want to do anything, and then I had an appointment later. So I was fitting this in between, like the I don't have time yesterday. That was just a lie. I just demolished that lie, because this is the only window I have. And I went to go visit some family, and they were like, I was like, I just had to run to the gym first. And they're like, well, good for you. I know I'm crazy, right? But I have to show my son, hey, I checked it off. I did it. But it's like you said, I got excited because I was accomplishing something that we had this conversation about. And I didn't even realize I did it until I came like bouncing into the gym after that. Yeah, I got it. I'm doing this thing.
And there's two things that you said, right? It's like the hormone aspect of it, like the endorphins, like
Yes.
what we do impacts the endorphins that we have. So having that understanding, or any, it produces different chemicals in our body. So any of the things that we're doing is having an impact. So
Yes.
things like, having sugar when we're sad, if we understand that what we're doing is just coping emotionally by creating these hormones in our bodies, then we can make choices about how do I want to cope with these feelings, rather than, and when you said, I don't have time, it's like, take every thought captive, right? It's not, I don't have time. It's, what time do I have? Right?
Yes.
That's what you did. You said, okay, no, when can I? When can I do this? How can I make this happen? It's just like the how question is so much more empowering than like the, I can't, why can't I get, it's just telling your brain, you're telling yourself why you're weak, why you're not doing the thing that you want to, you're finding whatever question you ask your brain, you're going to give yourself an answer. Your brain is, programmed that way. So what kinds of questions do you want to give your brain to answer about, who you're becoming?
Yeah. And that's one thing I notice, if we talk about circumstances that are externally that try to control how we respond, this is a big thing I address with other people, because I find that other people pose questions to me in a negative manner. And I will like, okay, wait, I know what you're getting at, but a better way to ask that, because they're like, well, you didn't really want to do that, did you? And I was like, okay, you're already throwing the negativity on me. You're already like giving me, defeating all my purpose or whatever. And so, okay, a better question to ask. But I noticed that, and I wonder if that's why so many people end up in that kind of victim mentality, because we have a world, and I mean, there are a lot of people, like I said, people I come into contact daily with, ask questions in that way, that they're just like shooting you down with a negative, almost accusatory question. And so how can we get people to understand, when you have a conversation with somebody, like my son, I felt like the conversation I had with my son was very empowering. And I was like, you're right. I can do this. I know what to do. I know the right answers. How can we tell other people to treat us with this respect, to ask us empowering questions?
Oh, Carolina. You know, one of the things about being empowered is to understand that for me, I can't control what anybody does, right? Like I can only control how I want to perceive it. And so while a tool to have in our back pocket is just to say, can you ask that a different, like express what we're feeling and give them an opportunity, right? When you said that, I felt myself get defensive, or I felt myself feel like you were saying this negative thing about me. It made me feel this way, whatever. I don't want to be in that, emotional state in this conversation, whatever, however you want to word it.
Yeah.
It's like coming from a place of vulnerability, to express how you feel, because if it's someone that cares about you, they're going to want to show up for you the way you need. And I also recognize that not everyone is willing or maybe even able, like they may not have the capacity to show up for us the way we need, because they have been programmed, they have been doing this for so long and observing it for so long that their pattern is so deeply embedded that they just don't know anything different, right? And so we could say, could you ask that a different way?
Yes.
And still have the space to understand that they may not be able to do anything different for us. And as an empowered person, I choose to interpret it that way, right? Like they don't know anything different, but I do. And I'm going to ask it to myself a different way, right? Because it is so hard, because boundaries is not, so much about changing the other person as it is changing how we're going to respond to their behavior. Yeah. And I used to think of that in this like very negative way about, I can't believe they're doing this, or I can't take it, or whatever. And it's like, you know what? Maybe they just can't. Like, I hate to say it that way because we don't like to say can't, but everyone is on a different journey, and everyone is in a different state in their growth, and you can't force someone into a different state in their journey. And so they're doing as much as they can with the information that they have, just like I'm doing the best I can with the information I have. And I'm not going to be able to, just shift them, right? And so all I can do is say, when this person behaves this way, this is what I'm going to do for myself. And if it's something disrespectful, like screaming or, calling me names, things like that, I can say, well, I'm going to remove myself from that situation. I'm not going to keep sitting there trying to make them change, because I can't force anybody to change. And if it's something that they just don't, they're not, able to meet me there, like, hey, can we not focus on all this negativity? Like I have people in my life that they'll sit at the dinner table and their pattern is they're just going to talk about all the things that they judge about everybody in their life. It's like gossip.
Yeah.
And
yes.
It drives me nuts, but I'm like, can we talk about something else? And then okay, well, that's also negative. And can we talk about something else? And then they get upset. So it's like, okay, well, how much can you own, right? Like, rather than, can you shift it because they don't know any better, right? So can you shift it for them? Like, can you say, is this what you mean? Or can you shift the conversation to something else? Hey, what about this? As opposed to putting it on them, who's already in that pattern, they don't know anything different. Can you take that leadership role and be the example? Can you be the role model for them? Because I'll give you an example. I grew up in a very conflict ridden home, like chaotic, big emotions, no emotional regulation, unpredictable bouts of emotion, highly stressful environment for them, therefore for us as children too. And I did not know that anger or conflict could be resolved any other way
Wow.
but through screaming and fighting and like I just didn't know, like I didn't even recognize that I was doing it. You know what I mean? Like I just, and so very early in our relationship with Juan, so I was in my like not even early 20s. I uh I was very like, why can't we talk about this? Very like emotional, very loud, very accusatory, very conflict big, right? And so I didn't know anything different, but he set a very firm boundary. He didn't try to like control me, like stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing this. He just said, hey, when you raise your voice this way, and when we're in the midst of being very heightened emotionally this way, I know we may say things that we don't mean. And so I'm going to walk away now, and we're going to come back and talk about this when we're calm. And I remember at first that drove me nuts. But eventually I began to trust that you can have conflict, you can have discussions, you can do that from a grounded, energetic place. But there has to be a person that sets the tone and can be the role model for the person that's been doing things a certain way for so long, right?
Wow.
And so when you talk about how do you influence people to ask you more empowering questions, it's kind of like what you did with your son. It's like you can only set the example and then hope that through osmosis they see that this is valuable,
Yeah.
right? This is valuable. Otherwise, if they've never done it differently, they really aren't. They really don't have a capacity in that moment in their growth journey, right?
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. And so I love how all of this ties in the creating habits and setting boundaries. And I think we don't always have the conversation where we link those two together, you know. And so you're talking about in a situation where you're thrown together. I mean, there's the time where you can walk away, you can remove yourself from the situation. There's another time where you can't, and somebody has to be empowering because it's just a learned behavior and you don't know any different. So, yeah, and so I think of people, like you said, sitting at the table with family or whatever, or, in a work environment where you can't just walk away. You can't remove yourself from the situation. I think there's also a point of the setting example, which I've seen a lot lately, and I felt like it wasn't within my control. So if you share that um, this is something I'm trying to implement in my life, and it's almost a joke, and I go back to like food and health because I think it's easy and sometimes it's funnier. So I recognize like removing sugar, and I will say like, yeah, sugar, it's like everything to me, chocolate chip cookies, whatever, brownies. And so at work, we're at this environment and everybody's eating and there's always like brownies or cookies or whatever. And so now it's a joke, coming out like, oh no, like you don't want that cookie or whatever. Remember, you're not doing it. So now I've created, we have a supportive environment, whereas previously, and sometimes with family, it's like, no, eat this. Okay, fine. You're going to hurt my feelings if you don't eat this, and you feel pressured. So like, no, I'm trying to instill this good habit, and whatever it is. I mean, we see it across the board. We see it with friends, and I'm like, I'm trying to be healthy or I'm trying to be active, and they like want to pull you into their sphere. Maybe I was going to say pull you down, and that's not good because, like you said, sometimes they don't know any better. That's all they identify with, and so they want to pull you in. And I think this is where it's important to set boundaries. And I recognize in my life, there was a time that I didn't feel like I had a voice to say, no, I'm not doing that right now. Or no, I've set this goal for myself, and draw that line and realize that um, I didn't have to people please. I didn't have to conform to everybody else's wishes. I had to be true to my goals and my boundaries. And so I think that's something, like I said, I don't think we address enough in empowering other people. Like, you set a valid goal. You created a valid habit, and you have um, what's the word I want? You have the permission to share that with other people and draw the line. And it doesn't mean that these people aren't important to you. It doesn't mean that they're doing something wrong, you're doing something right. But it's like, if I've chosen to take this stand in my life to pursue this habit, or to pursue whatever this is, it's okay for me to share that with you and say, like, hey, that's fine for you, but I'm not doing that right now. And draw that line. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's sugar or alcohol or staying up late or whatever, going to the gym, not going to the gym. It's okay to have permission to let other people know that I'm not doing this right now, or I am pursuing this goal right now. And it doesn't mean you're going to lose a friendship, or it doesn't mean you're going to risk your job, just to voice that you're doing that, and to respect those boundaries. What do you have?
Yeah. I wanted to touch on, identity, right? Because it's like, one of the things Juan said to me in that moment was, we don't resolve conflict this way, right? Mm-hmm. You said, I'm not doing this right now. Yes. And right now kind of is like temporary, right? So and maybe that's what you need at the moment in order to convince yourself, like, okay, it doesn't have to be forever, but this is what we're not doing right now. And but the habits that stick the longest, or the habits that impact your life the most, are the habits that actually change the way you look at yourself.
Yes.
Right? I am the type of person that does this.
Yes.
I am the type of person that goes to the gym. I am the type of person that eats healthy. I'm the type of person that doesn't have sweets. I'm the type of person, that follows through on the things that I say I'm going to do. Right? And so once you shift your identity, that's why, like, yes, you're impacting your health when you take on these habits, but you're also impacting the way you look at yourself, because I'm the type of person that does these types of things. And so if you say, I'm the type of person that doesn't prioritize their health, right? Because that's not important to me. Like, your actions say that. Your confidence is going to reflect that, right? And so I'm the type of person that has a discipline to follow through, that does the hard things even when I don't want to, that pushes myself beyond the discomfort. So guess what? Now when things get hard at work, now when things get hard in your relationships, now when things get hard, in other areas of your life where you're challenged, you're the type of person that goes through with the hard things, that has the discipline, that has the ability to withstand difficulties. And so it's like, what kind of person do you want to be is part of how we choose the habits that will make the biggest impact in our lives.
Yeah, that's so good. And you know what? So something was coming to my mind. So Bailey just came on. Bailey's going to love this. Have you read The Power of Habit?
Yeah. That has a big part in that book. I was like, oh, all of a sudden, if you start going to the gym, you all automatically start eating healthier, automatically start having better spending habits. I thought that was so, like, such a shift for me, because it was like, oh, I don't just want to go to the gym to, get healthier. I want to go to the gym because it's going to change my whole life.
Well, but you're saying that, and so I think this is so important. Like, I wouldn't really want to write about this, about just, again, identifying with your end goal. I'm the type of person, even when you're not doing it. And so many people say, like, well, I can't develop this new habit. And that's a lie, because the example he uses that I love is brushing your teeth in the morning. You know, like nobody thinks about brushing their teeth in the morning. They just
Mhm.
do it. But if you look at a parent with small kids, what is the struggle? Like, I feel like I have to remind my grandkids every time we're leaving to go somewhere. It's like, did you brush your teeth? Did you brush your teeth? You know, that became a habit that was instilled, but it wasn't easy at the beginning.
Mhm.
You know, it's a no-brainer now. Like, we just get up in the morning, brush our teeth before we go out. But I don't have that on my list. I do not have
Yeah,
brush my
exactly. You don't have to remind
teeth.
yourself to do that.
It's not on there. You know, it's just something we do. And when you say, like, I want to be this kind of person, but I can't implement these habits, I loved, and I think I said this before already. My grandson was here last month, and he said, like, you know, every morning you read your Bible. Like, that's just something that he's recognized. Like, that's just who you are. That's just what you do. You know, but do you think that when I first started, you know, that was like brushing my teeth? No, now it's like brushing my teeth. It's not. It's like I brush my, well, I read my Bible before I brush my teeth. You know, and so how can going to the gym, or how can you know, like saving money, or how
Mhm.
can, you know, all of those things that say I am this kind of I am the kind of person that takes vacations where I get to experience God's creation all around the world. You know, how can that become a habit, just like brushing my teeth, or just like going to the gym, where people are like, wow, like you're the kind of person that does this, you know,
Mhm.
and I've seen that in your life. And because I've seen you do it, I think it's a possibility for me. And I love crushing those paradigms in people's lives, those limiting beliefs,
Yes.
you know, showing them. And I'm going to use that, what you said about having them write down, I am the kind of person that what, you know, and believing it, and then following through with, you know, what does it take? And yeah, that's so good. I really love that. Now I'm like, that's so achievable. So I wonder if anybody sees me as I'm that person that goes to the gym. Probably not.
Nice. Yeah, the other thing is like I love to coach leaders, right? Because leaders make such an impact on their environment. Like they understand that they're leading other people by example. Like
Yes.
they will impact so many more people, and those people will then impact their homes, and those, you know, and so it has such a ripple effect to coach a leader. And the thing is, people become leaders either, you know, unconsciously because they got put in a management role, or all of a sudden they had a baby, you know, unexpectedly, whatever it is, or you know, they became an older sibling and not expect it, but we're all leaders.
Yes.
We just, the leadership role, when done right, is that you are intentionally stepping into the identity of a leader, right?
Wow. Wow.
It's like, oh, I'm a leader. I'm the type of person that leads other people.
Yeah.
And so what do leaders do? They don't wait for other people to tell them, you know, what they should be doing. They don't implement. They are thinking about the future,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're setting the example, like they're taking action for others to follow,
Yeah.
right? To be a leader, you have to have people following.
Right.
And so to be a leader, you also have to be ahead of the others, right? So you have to have vision for the future. And so it's like, okay, are you the type of person that is going to lead? Are you the type of person that is going to look at the future and develop, you know, a mindset of we are going, you know, in pursuit of a better life, of a better future, of a, you know, a better, it could be a better business, it could be a better, you know, product, it could be a better, you know, for me growing up, it's also the context you're operating in, right? Like when I grew up, I just remember I'm not going to live in poverty ever again, right? Like I remember it was so clear to me, like this is not going to be my future, right? It's like I'm going to be the type of person that figures this out.
Yes.
And that's the other identity that I found to be most life changing is I'm going to be the type of person that can figure things
Right.
out, Like I'm a problem solver. And I do affirmations with Mia in the morning. And one of the things we say is like, I'm a problem solver, right?
Good.
It's like to identify with if I'm challenged or if there's something I don't want in my life, I feel empowered that I can, research an answer, find the right person to help me, you know, try different things
Yes.
till I find the one that works. It's that identity of I don't need to wait. I can lead through that process.
Yes. You know what I love about that? So I think the last time you talked about that Marie Forleo book, Everything is Figured Out.
Everything, yeah.
But I think, first of all, you have to have that mindset shift. Tends to be a follower. I didn't see myself as a leader when I was younger. Let's just put it that way. Okay, I didn't feel empowered to be a leader as I was younger, but that is something that I changed. Like I said, when I had that shift, like, wait a minute, like I don't see anybody I want to be like. So I'm going to become that person that I wish I had. It's like, what does that look like? That looks like pursuing these goals or whatever. But the question is, and I think this is why we're so passionate about life coaching, is because we want to help pull people out of those mindsets, whatever they are, to become those leaders in their life, to have that self-efficacy. And so you said something, and we and you've probably heard this, like we have this saying, don't bring me a problem, bring me a solution. And I think that we need to say that to ourselves when we're faced with that problem. And I think this is what life coaching embodies, that people come to us as like, I want this, I just don't know how to get there. And this is why we're here. We're here to help them identify those, to ask them the good questions, to pull out of it. I mean, that's one of my favorite things in the world, is that evocation, like pulling out of you what I know is in there. We're doing that in the schools now. It's like coming alongside teachers and saying, we know you see the potential in these students. How can we come alongside of you to help them achieve that potential? Not get kicked out because of behavior or grades or whatever. It's like, I want everybody to see their full potential. So we want to come alongside people and help them find the solution to this problem or this question. Is like, okay, I have this problem, and so what is the solution, or how can I pursue it? And I love the era that we live in now, because everything is right here. Like you can just Google it. Like, how do I save money? How do I become healthier? How do I we'd rather they call us, but let me help you make a plan. But that is, I mean, that encompasses everything that we're talking about, because that's going to lead to the habits. That's going to lead to identifying your identity. It's like, wait a minute, this is the issue. I don't want to be the person that loses my house. I want to have a house. I don't want to live in fear that I don't know where I'm going to be living in 5 years from now. I don't want to live like that. So how do I do that?
I love that, because so I was just at this Life Surge event, which is all about empowering leaders to become like economically safe and just be empowered to build wealth and things to move the kingdom forward, right? And they had all these inspirational speakers. Ed Milet was there, but John Maxwell was there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What I loved about John Maxwell's talk was that he said, you're either preparing or you're repairing. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, some people just learn. This is an identity thing again, right? Some people just learn by making the mistakes. That's like, you're identifying with that, right? Like you are identifying as someone that cannot learn without first like making a huge mistake in your life and then be in repair mode.
Yes.
And that is not a truth, right? Like that is like, you've identified with that because you've decided that you're not going to prepare.
Right. Yeah. So this is what I say, you're being reactive instead of proactive.
Yes, exactly. So what kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be the person that is preparing to have the life that you want? Or do you want to like allow life to decide for you? And to me, while I did like make the decision, okay, I'm going to be financially stable. I'm not going to have this poverty in my life like my parents did. And it's not that they decided for that life either. Like we were, immigrants, and even if they had pursued their degrees and they did have, the tools to have a career, when you go to a new country not knowing the language, you can't do anything but clean floors and wash dishes. You can't communicate with anybody what you know, right? And so it's like, okay, yes, they moved through that, and it took a long time to get to the point where they weren't in poverty, but I experienced all of it, and I just knew for myself, I am going to set myself up. I'm going to prepare to not have poverty in my home. And so I said, what do I have to do that? Right. And so the thing is, even though I had that, because I was starting from this like poverty place, like my view of what was possible was very limited, because it was like, I just didn't want poverty. I didn't have the wherewithal as a kid, or anybody around me, like you said, to be like, oh, this, you can go much further than that. There's so much more available to you, right? And so I was just kind of like avoiding poverty as opposed to pursuing abundance. And so I was like, I know the only thing I knew that would do that is like get a degree and pursue a career. And so like I had everything lined up where I had to make sure I got a scholarship because I knew my parents couldn't pay for school. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, get this kind of a job, go to work at a bank so I could work at an office. I got an admin job. Then I grew at corporate, and then I was doing product management, and it was like, all of a sudden I woke up in my life like, oh, now I have my basic needs met. And all of a sudden I realized I am so unfulfilled. It's like not even like, I don't even know why I'm even like living this life anymore, right? Like, what is going on? Like, and it was because I was just so limited in my view of the future. It was like, I just don't want to be poor. And if I had just prepared to live, so I just prepared to basically not be poor. And if I had just prepared to live a life of more meaning, right? And I think everybody is on a journey anyway. I think I wouldn't have gotten there without going through this process, because you have to have grace that you can't go beyond just meeting. If your basic needs aren't met, you are not going to be able to meet your what is, if I'm thinking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
That's true.
You're not going to be able to now pursue fulfillment and self-actualization. And so everyone's on a different journey. And yeah, I didn't have my basic needs met, so I couldn't go to self-actualization. And it's just like, okay, recognizing that, and still like understanding that if you don't do anything, right? Like I wasn't doing anything to pursue self-actualization because I didn't even know that was a thing.
Right.
Right. I thought
you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know. I thought if I just could have a career, provide for my daughter, feel like I could stand on my own 2 feet, even have a partner that would not create the environment that I was accustomed to as a child, and then it would all work out. But not recognizing that, oh, I have to also prepare for my spiritual health and for self-actualization, and what fills my soul. And if I don't, then life is just gonna keep going, and I'm gonna then be in repair mode, which is what happened when I hit burnout. I was now repairing my life. I was not in a good place with all these other types of energy. And that's where coaching is so powerful, is because yes, you can Google anything, and you can read all the books, and you can listen to all the podcasts, and you can listen to these lives here. But if you're in a pattern and and you're in a certain spot in your journey, you don't know what you don't know. And you're not asking the questions that go beyond. Like, there is someone that can guide you through, hey, have you thought about your spiritual health? Have you thought about, how, you're going to find purpose or fulfillment in your life? All these things. But yes, they're empowered to get all the answers, and they still might not be asking the questions that move them towards the life that they could have. Like, they might not even think they could have that life, right?
Yeah. So I think this is a good way to summarize, to wrap this up, because this has been like so good. I mean, it's just inspiring for me. But first of all, you hit on something so important for people to recognize that we're not diminishing the situations that they're in. Because there are some people that are in survival mode, that don't have their basic needs being met right now, maybe due to circumstances beyond their control. Like, I think about in 2017, we went out and had to help a lot of people here locally in South Texas when Hurricane Harvey hit. I don't care how good of habits you have. All of a sudden, your life is decimated. Not only is your house flattened, but your place of employment is flattened. So sometimes people enter into situations that are beyond their control. Okay. And so it's easy for us to talk now. So we have to think about that. So if there are people that are in those situations, like in life crisis situations, and you're in situations where your basic needs aren't even being met, that needs to be addressed first. And we think that that's common sense, but I'm glad that you addressed it, because, I don't know if you realize I'm also like the co-chair of our local human trafficking task force. And so combat human trafficking, and they'll find a survivor. And sometimes law enforcement doesn't even realize, like, have you offered this girl food? We have to meet people's basic needs first. Yeah. So let's get those basic needs met. And then secondly, give you the opportunity to dream again. And what does it look like? And that's one of my favorite things. I always start out with just like dreaming. What do you want your life to look like? And then, then implementing that question, like you said, that who's the person I want to be, and then making those affirmational statements like, I am the person that goes to the gym. I am the person that's not going to live in poverty. I am the person, that's going to be a good example to my children. I am the person that's not going to yell all the time, whatever it is. Setting those goals up, and then implementing the habits, whatever that looks like in your life. And again, we're both here to help. That this is obviously, it's our passion. We get so excited. We geek out on this stuff. We want you to live the life that you were created to live. Next Friday is our last live, right?
For now. So this is like a 4-part series. And then after next Friday, I will have a different speaker coming in and talking every Friday, because I loved this so much. I was like, I want to keep this going. And so I have different people. I have a podcast host that talks about how to be better every day. That's mainly geared towards men, but applies to everybody. I have a nutritionist that does like meal prep, that's going to talk to us about food. I have a yoga therapist that's going to talk to us about, embodiment. I have it's just going to be awesome. So every Friday at 10 a.m. I'm going to keep going. And then I would love to bring you back, because this was so fun. And I was like, I hope she wants to come back and do it again.
It is but fun. It is fun.
Booked through November. I'm even doing a session in November 22nd is a Friday this year. And November 22nd happens to be Juan's birthday.
Oh.
And so I'm bringing my therapist on, actually.
Wow.
Very vulnerable, but she is a trauma informed trauma specialist, and I want to talk about how important it is to regulate our nervous systems, and how to move through trauma and processing the things that happen in our bodies to then be able to work on the mind, so we don't bypass emotions, and how to truly feel our feelings and truly see ourselves, and how that impacts everything, all areas of our lives, our goals, our relationships, everything,
Yes.
because it informs our limiting beliefs in such a deep way. So I have so many exciting lives coming up, and then I'm gonna hopefully bring you back in December, if that sounds good.
No, I'll look at my schedule. Yeah. See if that looks
But definitely, I'll see you all back here, and we'll keep going next week with courage. So,
good.
how
Okay.
do we step into courage when we have all this knowledge, and then are we holding ourselves back from doing more
Yeah.
than what we are settling for?
Yeah. So DM us your questions before
Yes,
next
please. All right.
week. Bye.
See you next week. Thanks. This is fun.
Thank you for tuning into today's episode of Courage and Purpose. I hope today's insights inspired you to take bold action and align your life and career with what truly matters to you. If you're ready to dive deeper, I invite you to download my free Action Indicator Assessment, a powerful tool to help you uncover what's holding you back and take the next step towards clarity and confidence. Just visit www.lifeonpurpose.coach/action indicator to get started today. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with someone who could use a little extra courage on their journey. Until next time, stay true to your purpose, lead with courage, and keep thriving. I'll see you in the next episode.